Hey guys, so I want to talk about a love-hate relationship that I have with nursing school exams. They are very difficult. I don't know that I agree that they should always be so difficult. I understand the purpose, why they want nursing school exams to be difficult and what they are trying to do with it, but I don't necessarily believe that it should be the way it is. So let me get into it. Let's talk about why there's so many words, why there's so many aspects, and why they're so picky about their questions that they give you. The first thing I want to point out is that the only way you're going to become a registered nurse is if you pass the NCLEX. Currently, that is the only way that we have measurements for becoming a registered nurse. So in order for you to get that RN, you have to know how to pass the NCLEX. And the questions that they give you in nursing school are trying to replicate that of an NCLEX. So not to frustrate you, but to kind of get you used to answering questions that are a little bit more difficult. And the reason why they are so difficult is because when you walk into a patient's room, so your job as a nurse is to walk into a patient's room and to look at the entire scene. You are gathering information from their vital signs. You're gathering information from their skin. Just the mere presentation of the patient, their story, the situation, everything. You're walking in and then you have to decide, given all this information that you just observed, what it is that's super important and what the plan of care is and what it is we're going to do about all these different aspects and how you're going to think beyond just a black and white picture. So I believe that the basics of nursing school should be a little bit more black and white. If we could start off with like vital signs and have just a simple question. Patient's heart rate is 150. Is this, normal, true or false or whatever? And it's a simple black and white question. No, that's not normal. That's a high heart rate. And then once we get a good basic, we can kind of move on and we're like, okay, we have a patient with a temperature and a high heart rate. Why would they be like that? Oh, because when you are febrile, your heart rate increases, you become dehydrated, different things that you can like add into that and show the nursing student how to think about the different aspects. What is affecting it? Why is it becoming that way? Whereas I think a lot of, my personal experience with nursing school exams is they taught you the lecture material, but they didn't make any connections for you. They just were giving you the information. And then they would test you by almost trying to trick you up and get you to think about things in ways that you weren't ready or were never shown how to think about them that way. So they are difficult because you're given a lot of extra words, you're given a lot of information you don't need to know, and then they are trying to make you make these connections. I don't know that I believe that they should be making the connections at exam time, but I think they should be making the connections in lecture time and also in clinical times. And then making those kinds of connections helps you to get there for the exam. So that's the way I wish it were. It's not quite that way, but that's why nursing school exams are so difficult. It's frustrating to know that your questions are going to try and trick you. It's frustrating to know that almost all the answers are right, but which one is the most right? Those ones really made me mad. Because I felt like quite a bit of those were opinion-based and weren't necessarily any sort of importance at all. So I could go to one instructor and they would give me the answer A as the correct answer, and I could present the same question to another instructor and they would tell me answer B. And that would really frustrate me because it's just opinion based at that point. And there are a lot of things that are opinion based, and I think that the NCLEX would benefit from taking some of that opinion out of it and making it a little bit more black and white, because at the end of the day, you are going to be making your decisions as a nurse differently than any other nurse, but you can make wrong decisions. You can, if you have a patient who is having an airway problem and you go to a patient with a laceration that's bleeding but not profusely, airway always trumps circulation. So you need to be going to that airway patient. That is a black or white thing. Unless, of course, then this is where it starts to get tricky. So if you have a patient who has a massive laceration and they are profusely bleeding and losing quite a bit of blood, and you have a patient with, let's say, pneumonia or a cough, you're going to go see that circulation patient because that's going to kill the patient first. Having pneumonia, it's not good. It is an airway issue. It's a breathing issue, which is A and B before you get to C, which is your circulation. But if you lose all your blood, that's it. You're going to die before the patient with pneumonia. So that's where things start to get tricky, and you got to start to use your critical thinking that they like to tell you to use your critical thinking all the time. I hated that word. It made me very angry because what does that even mean? How do you do that? And as I've become more comfortable in my nursing career, I've found that critical thinking is really just, it's experiences that I learn, and I'm starting to put the pieces together, something that I've seen before, and things that I learn it, and then if I experience it, it's like, whoa, it all comes together. I'm not memorizing it anymore. I know it. I understand why that's happening. So forcing people to do critical thinking without giving them the tools to make those critical thinking steps is very difficult. And it's difficult to teach. So I think that that can be one source of why our nursing exams are quite difficult. So I hope that my ranting and raving clarified why our exams are so difficult. And I hope that helps you to look into when a teacher is explaining to you why they think a certain answer is correct. If you don't agree with them, let it go. It's gonna be okay. Arguing your one question isn't really going to help anything. If it's a difference between pass or fail, maybe, and make sure you have a really strong case for it. But honestly, the exams are difficult because a lot of them are opinion-based, and everybody has an opinion, and they're all different. So do your best to base your exam questionnaires and things like that on what it is that you know and solid facts. If I didn't know any better and I were given a patient with pneumonia versus a patient with a laceration, and the extra information was that the patient was bleeding out versus an oxygen saturation of 90, let's say, my basic instinct, if I didn't really think that through, or I didn't have any connections to make there, would be to go with airway, because airway trumps circulation, and that's just what you learn. And so you really have to understand that the teacher that's teaching you may have a little bit more experience with it. It would have been nice if that teacher had taught you that in class so that you could make those connections while on the exam, but don't think just because your thought process on it is black and white that is the actual answer. You're going to have to let straight A's go. I know it was the worst thing for me to ever do. I was mortified that I wasn't an A student anymore. But and I know that a lot of nursing students are that way, because in order to get into nursing school, you have to basically be the best of the best. You had to climb the hill on top of all those other people and be better than everybody else so that you could be in nursing school. And here you are with this type A personality, and they're basically beating you down. It feels like it's like when you're in the military and they like take everything away so that you can be built up to be better again. So, all right, you guys, I'm babbling on about why nursing school exams are so difficult, and I don't know that I've helped clarify why, but I hope that I have helped you understand that there is a reason behind it, and you probably won't see that reason now, and hopefully you will understand it a little bit more later, and hopefully your instructors will get better at giving you the tools to make that critical thinking connection. Good luck, you guys.